Can we all just pause for a moment here and reflect in honor of all the lost battles out there due to the critter launcher and the client and sync error? RIP. A lot of good battles lost out there. Well, actually, it's not really a laughing matter. I know a lot of players did not take it very kindly, especially for those that did experience it a lot more on Android versus iOS. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more here. Warship Season 41, Rough Seas is over, and we're going to dive on into a season review. Let's do this. Good morning, good afternoon, and yes, good evening, Skull Army and friends. It's your boy, your friendly neighborhood SkullCrusher, coming right back at you with another Boom Beach video. In today's video, Tuesday, December the 27th, 2022, Skull Army, I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas with your friends and family. Now, before we do dive on into the madness here, please do not forget to leave a like on today's video. It does mean the absolute world to me, does help the channel grow, and of course, it does appease our YouTube algorithm overlords. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, only me. Season 41, it's over. Rough Seas, first and foremost, great season. I loved it. I loved it. Yes, it had its flaws, but overall, with the introduction of the critter launchers and the introduction of the laser rangers for Season 41 Rough Seas, honestly, it really mixed and shook things up with regards to offensive and defensive metas here. Now, first off, let's mention that a lot of players did actually experience, I believe it was client and sync error with regards to warship battles, and I think a lot of players did experience it more on Android versus iOS. Now, I can also attribute to this because I can at least recall 3 or 4 times on streams throughout the season where I personally experienced the client and sync error live on stream. So, you know, a little bit frustrating, but I know it was happening a lot more frequently to a lot of other players out there. Especially trying to get into that mood, trying to get into that warship grind mode, go big or go home. It's very difficult keeping that competitive edge, keeping that competitive momentum when you are constantly losing battles due to client and sync error. And I believe the reasoning mainly was due to the critter launcher and just, you know, still, I guess, not entirely sure, but, you know, could still just be working out with code with the game here. But whenever the critters were attacking troops, I noticed more so with bullet and air troops. So, you know what, when critters were just swarming bullet and, you know, if there were rocket choppers or sometimes even heavy choppers in the mix here, and, you know, they were just constantly attacking the critters here, if for some reason after a certain X amount of time, it would bug out and you would literally, more than likely, lose the match due to a client and sync error. So incredibly frustrating, you know, especially if you were on a boss fight, you know, if you were on that, you know, gold to diamond battle, you know, if you were on that diamond to legendary, and I know there were a lot of players that were in that situation where they lost a battle due to the fact of client and sync, and, you know, it just rubs you the wrong way and definitely would grind my gears if it was on an important boss fight as well. So yeah, I really hope that Supercell does look into this a little bit more, and hopefully we have it catered and fixed, corrected, going into Season 42. Snow much fun? Is that what it is? Snow much fun? Yeah, and we'll definitely be talking about that in a little bit. Obviously, I'm just thinking they're going to be having cold troops. So again, I haven't looked at the dev build, haven't looked at anything yet, but just looking at that season name, I'm assuming it's going to have to do with cold troops. So nonetheless here, Skull Army, the critter launchers, honestly, they were a great addition, but they brought just as many headaches as they brought joy as well. Because if you did unlock the critter launcher early this season, or just experienced using it in general, it was a great defense, and if you picked it up early, you did. I don't want to say tend to do better, but it definitely went a lot further if you picked it up early opposed to not picking it up early. Like, I definitely experienced early success on my Captain Borealis account picking up the critter launchers early versus bypassing them on my SkullCrusher account. Of course, yes, we did go back later in the season to pick them up, but what I really liked about the critter launchers is that they can really make or break an attack here. Like, I mean, if you've actually went back and watched some of the replays when it comes to the critter launchers, they render masses of troops useless. Like, I mean, laser rangers, we're going to get into those in a moment here. They were an absolute phenomenal counter to the critter launchers. Of course, air troops were a great counter as well, but air troops were running into that problem of client and sync error. So laser rangers were honestly a great addition. Totally shook up the offensive meta for season 41 rough seas here, and honestly a great counter to the critter launchers as well, because, you know, if you were just swarming with riflemen or just, you know, heavy rushing or free clearing, or even just going in with, you know, rifle bomba, kavan, whatever it may be, you know, once those critter launchers got firing and there was multiple critters on the battlefield, you know, they would hold your troops in place until those critters were dead, or, you know, the bombardiers decided to finally lock onto the critter launcher. So they do a great job on defense, slowing the rate of attack, and honestly sometimes just like putting a complete halt to the attack at hand here. So critter launchers are not to be messed around with, okay? I mean, honestly, they're a double-edged sword right now, because, you know, when you're attacking them, you had that slight chance knowing that there could be that client and sync error, and of course having them on your defense and knowing that they are defending your layout, you know, you just have that in the back of your mind that they just create absolute havoc on the battlefield, just again completely rendering the attack useless at times if you were not managing them correctly. Shocks on defense, of course, were great, pinning them down once your troops got in range. There was also like this double smoke technique that we were seeing as well, where players were just dropping smokes on your riflemen when they were in range of the critter launchers, and of course the bombardiers would outrange them, so the bombas would take out the critter launchers while, you know, the frontline troops, the riflemen, the cannon fodder, were protected under the smoke. So there was a lot of actually good strategies that a lot of players were using to counter the critter launchers, and again just completely shaking up season 41 rough seas. And I think a reason why the seas were so rough was due to the critter launchers as well. So Skull Army, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were of the critter launchers being introduced to Warships for season 41 rough seas. You know, like I said, there were a lot of pros to go along with them, a lot of cons to go along with them as well. And then of course when it goes over and when we switch over to offense here, the laser rangers just again completely shook up the offensive meta when it came to Warship season 41 rough seas. And I think we're going to start seeing the incorporating factor of laser rangers much more frequently now in Warships, especially once you pack on that troop damage. Like, those laser rangers with 100% troop damage was next level stupid. You throw on that 150 TD once you got to 7 ER, and oh my Lanta, I never got the chance to experience 7 ER this season. That's my own fault. With that being said, I know a lot of players were talking about how that was the meta, coming down to pretty much heavy choppers and laser rangers in 7 ER to manage those front-loaded compacts and just, you know, some of the disgustingness that players were running into. So laser rangers overall, yes, you know, they are a little bit more on the fragile side, unpredictable. You know, timing can be completely off if, you know, you're trying to, you know, use them as that backline troop. You've got riflemen or heavy choppers, you know, at the front. You really want to make sure that you're dropping your riflemen or your heavy choppers, whatever it may be, first, you know, given those few seconds delay, and then dropping those laser rangers, because they do have a tendency just to run right to the front line and just get in range of that splash damage where your frontline troops are as well. So a lot to think about when it comes to the laser rangers. I think they were a great addition to season 41 rough seas. I did thoroughly enjoy using them as well throughout the season. I wish I did take my account 7 ER so I could experience that 150 troop damage, as a lot of players did, you know, for the final meta of the season here, and especially just knowing that those laser rangers were melting everything, and just again from a distance, a great counter to those very nasty critter launchers. So overall, Skull Army and friends, with the introduction of the critter launchers for this season, the introduction of the laser ranger for this season, without a doubt, I think this definitely has to be up there, up par with one of the better seasons of Warships. And I know that's a little bit contradictory due to the fact that, you know, there's a lot of cons that go along with it due to the client and sync error, the critter launcher bug, whatever you want to call it, but just how much of a change that they brought to the game and just literally shook up the offensive and defensive meta, I think it's good. And I hope that the team at Supercell and Boom Beach can work on this critter launcher bug so players don't experience that client and sync error moving forward going into Season 42 so much fun. And yeah, overall, I think players do enjoy them. Let me know in the comments if you like them, if you don't like them. We're talking both offense for the Laser Rangers and defense for the critter launchers as well. And I think moving forward with future seasons of Warships, you are going to see the incorporation of the Laser Ranger and the critter launcher as a serious threat when it comes to offensive and defensive meta in Warships. Without a doubt, it was the biggest talking point of the season. You know, why the season was so rough? Well, you know, ultimately, I think it also came down to the fact that there was a low amount of troop health, and the Laser Rangers and the critter launchers definitely made things rough. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts were for Season 41 Rough Seas, and if you yourself experienced that client and sync error on a regular basis or not, guys. With all that being said right there, my friends, we will be wrapping up today's video. Once again, guys, we'll have direct links in the video description for my Telegram, for my Discord, for channel membership as well. I do want to give a massive shout out to our channel members. Yeah, that's right. I can start doing that. And of course, yeah, there will be a direct link to channel membership in the video description as well if you would like to join the Skull Army Club. With that being said, my friends, we will officially be wrapping up today's video. Now, I think it's time to make like a Tom and cruise. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace!